guys, Karen Miller here from Asleep at Last. So today I'm talking about sleep regressions. So what is a sleep regression? Why do they happen? When do they occur? And more importantly, what can you do about them? So a sleep regression is essentially a progression in your child's development. So when you think about it, they go through so much in the first 2 years of their life, and these regressions are part of that development, that change within their brain. So once they're through the regression, you will see a change in your child. These changes will be either in their behavior or physically. They'll have gone through a milestone, crawling, standing, walking, talking more. Their kind of comprehension or their understanding of certain concepts will have evolved. So yeah, there's a definite reason for sleep regressions, and sleep regressions typically manifest themselves overnight, so they disrupt sleep, but also naps as well. So the most common sign that your child is in a sleep regression is that they were previously sleeping really well, and they now all of a sudden are not sleeping well anymore. So they're waking in the night and staying awake, or they're fighting bedtimes and screaming hysterically at bedtime randomly when they weren't before, or fighting their naps, not napping for as long as they were. These sudden changes will be more than likely because of a regression. Now, there's several regressions that a child will go through in the first 2 years of their life, and the first one typically occurs around 8 weeks old. The next one is 4 months old, which is the one that most people are aware of because it's a huge regression. That's where their kind of newborn sleepiness changes into a more adult-like pattern. So how they sleep changes, their sleep cycles become shorter, and that's why you find some people find that their baby starts waking more frequently around the 4-month mark. Yeah, the 4-month regression is a big one, and lots of people are aware of this. The best way to avoid the 4-month regression is actually to get into healthy, good sleep habits before your child gets to 4 months old. So if you've got a baby that is under 4 months at the moment, I would encourage you to get the room environment set up. So make sure they're in a dark room, they're swaddled, they've got white noise, and that you're keeping an eye on their awake windows so that you're putting them down for naps at the right time when they're genuinely tired and more likely to sleep better, as well as implementing a bedtime routine in place as well. These things will all help them to either not hit the regression at all or come through the regression a lot more smoothly. The next regression after 4 months old is typically around 8 months. Again, this is a big one. Lots of babies start standing at this age, sitting up. Some babies are even trying to crawl, take steps potentially. So lots of physical milestones. Separation anxiety also peaks around 8, 9, 10 months. So there's a lot going on at this age. The next one is 12 months old, coming into toddler. The world of toddlers, lots of emotions going on, and communication as well. The one after 12 months old is 18 months old. Again, this is linked to communication. So lots of toddlers want to start talking around 18 months, so there's an explosion of words, but obviously, you know, they haven't quite got the sentences together yet, so there's lots of frustration. And it is actually common for the terrible twos to actually begin at 18 months rather than 2. And so you may start seeing, you know, epic tantrums all of a sudden, and again, bedtime battles, that kind of thing. And the final sleep regression happens around age 2, which again is linked to language development and communication. And so yeah, there's quite a few regressions throughout the first 2 years. Not all babies will go through all of them. Some won't be affected by any of them. There are a small number of babies that just breeze through these regressions like it's nothing, and that's a combination of just general luck and genetics, but also could be that the parents have done a lot of work making sure that the child is going to sleep at the right times, having their naps correctly, and implementing the right room environment from an early age, teaching them to self-settle, meaning that they don't hit the regression and it all goes to pot basically. So what can you do if you are in a regression, if your child is in a regression? The best advice I can give you is to really, if you weren't previously rocking, patting, cuddling, feeding to sleep, don't start doing that now. What commonly happens in the regression is that all of a sudden your child is hysterical, and we rush in with lots of help to calm them down, but also then end up somehow assisting them to sleep. And that's the thing that will then stay once a regression has gone. So you end up finding yourself still staying with them to sleep 4 or 5 weeks down the line, and you weren't doing that before. Lots of people ask me, you know, how long does a regression last? And again, it is different for each child and depending on which regression it is, but typically you're looking for about 2 to 3 weeks. Anything longer than that, I'd say if you're still having to assist to sleep at 4 or 5 weeks, I would say that that's more of a habit and a new association has been formed, and you'll need to do something to come away from that. The best tool you can have in your kit before these regressions is obviously to have taught your child to self-settle. If your child isn't self-settling, that will be magnified in the regression, because obviously they'll be waking up more frequently and be needing your help much more, which is exhausting. So the best thing to do is to teach them to self-settle, and lots of people find that they end up having to do this when they're in a regression because it's just so unmanageable that they suddenly realize that the child can't self-settle, and that needs to be taught. So that's the best thing that you can do, is to teach them to self-settle, not get into any new associations, and to always keep in mind that yes, they will need you more, lots of reassurance, lots of cuddles, but not too much interaction, not too much stimulation, and make sure that they always go to sleep on their own and you're not aiding them to sleep, which is what they'll look for on their next wake. So I hope that's been useful, guys. Thank you for listening, and I'll pop the link down below for my Facebook group. It's a free group for advice and support for any of your sleep questions. I'm also on Instagram, so that link's below as well. And click like if you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you next week. Bye.